Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Late entry today. What happened? Hello, Mr. Raju. So sorry, so sorry. I am 5 minutes late. But thank you. Good morning. Good morning. I hope you can hear me properly uh, on YouTube. I hope you can hear me. Please let me know if you can hear me properly. If you're yes, I can. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mr. Raju. I missed you yesterday actually. It was somebody else told me that I was audible, which was strange. So I'll just wait for somebody to tell me that I'm audible on LinkedIn as well. So guys on LinkedIn, if you can hear me, say something, and then we'll begin the unparalleled experience. Let's go. Folks on LinkedIn, can you hear me? LinkedIn, please tell me if you can hear me. Please tell me if you can hear me. Bum 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 bum. LinkedIn, can you hear me? Say yes. I hope you guys can hear me. I don't want to talk to a void when nobody can listen to me. LinkedIn. Do you copy? Do you copy? Bum 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 bum. Oh there, sir. How are you doing? Welcome to Thinker's Frequency. Fun routine, right? Wake up early, read everything, discuss everything. It's a good start. LinkedIn, can you hear me, folks? Or I'll just assume that you're hearing me and I'll go forward. Should be okay though. Should be okay. So I'll just wait for a minute and then go. LinkedIn, if you can hear me, say something. A lot of people are online on LinkedIn, but doing well, mate. Oh, good to know, sir. All right, sir. I shouldn't keep anybody waiting any longer. So let's begin. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thinker's Frequency. We're having such a good time. This is the peak of human civilization. We're working so hard, doing such good work for ourselves, our parents, our kids, our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our friends, everybody. Not other people's husbands and wives, I hope. And just when we thought things couldn't get any better, like they couldn't possibly get any better, well, they just did. Call it divine intervention, folks, but things just got a whole lot better. Now we have Thinker's Frequency, our daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis, right before we start our day. So let's continue with our journey of reading between the lines things that are especially interesting and important in the world of business and finance. Let's go! Oh, but before we go, we got to follow a tradition, right? You know the tradition? We all know the tradition of the simultaneous sip. We've got to sip something together and it'll bring good luck. All you need for the simultaneous sip is a cup or mug or glass or tank, a chalice or stein, a canteen jug or flask, or a vessel of any kind. Pour it with your favorite liquid. Today I'm having coffee. Cool. And here we go. Oh my god. Oh my god, I've got to do it again. Couldn't get any better. Couldn't get any better. You know what the simultaneous sip says, right? It says that you're not alone. It says that we're in this together. So, let's go. Today, there's a huge clash between Trump and Musk, essentially. Mr. Musk and Donald Trump are heading for a straight clash, and it's getting very ugly on Twitter. Uh, so the basis of this clash is essentially what Elon Musk wanted to do for his country. And what it wanted to do was avoid the death spiral of debt. Avoid the death spiral of debt. So, US has a lot of debt, and that debt is so huge that 25% of US all revenues are basically just going for debt servicing, like interest payments on the debt. And that's a huge problem. 25% of US revenues just going for interest payments on debt. That's just massive. And that's why Elon Musk came into the political scene. He said US, in order to stay alive, needs to cut spending, cut the debt. It needs to cut the deficit, and deficit death spiral is what Elon Musk wanted to avoid for the US, because he says if we default on any payments, as far as debts are concerned and deficits are concerned, if anything bad happens with that, US is done. That's what Ray Dalio wrote in his book, uh, The Changing World Order, the debt cycles. So everybody has been warning about the US spiral as far as deficit and debt is concerned, and that's why Elon Musk wanted to step inside the Oval Office, and that's why he basically came into the fore with the whole Doge thing, government efficiency, cutting spending, cutting deficit, saving money, so that US doesn't go bankrupt. That's been the constant theme for Mr. Musk. Apparently, Donald Trump just came out with a big beautiful bill, and that big beautiful bill just raises a lot of spending. It has raised a lot of spending, and it'll lead to even more deficit and even more. So, what Mr. Trump thinks is that whatever they're spending, whatever the bill is working on as far as spendings are concerned, it's necessary to spur growth, because he says US needs to grow like India does, or let's say it 1.5 2.5% growth is not enough for US. It can grow like 5%, 7%, and for that growth they need to spend, you know. But Elon Musk doesn't agree. He says all the good things that the spending or anything as a part of this big beautiful bill can bring will be countered by death. If the country dies, if the country just gets like wiped away because of the debt spiral, the debt spiral, it's all over, right? I mean, you can tell me the 10 good things that you're doing for me, but if I'm not alive for the next year, what what's the point? And that's the argument, essentially, which these people are fighting for. So Musk is saying that Donald Trump got elected because of me, and this is such ingratitude that we he's basically talking about. And Donald Trump is saying that I've helped Elon a lot, and he's basically mad at the bill because it cuts the tax rebates or something for electric vehicles, which hurts businesses, which hurts Tesla directly. So now this is a back and forth, and Musk essentially, it's just going, it's a battle right now. And very interestingly, Donald Trump also, Thinkers Frequencies regular viewers would know that Donald Trump also said no to Musk's special guy for the head of NASA. So Jared Isaacman, we discussed this in a couple of episodes ago. A few days ago, that Jared Isaacman was being pushed by Musk to be the chief of NASA, right? And that would have been good for Starlink, presumably. But Donald Trump said no. So apparently, because he made some donations to Democrats years ago, which he talked about. So this is a clear brewing conflict, and I don't think it helps anybody. Uh, Donald Trump has really gone out of flavor for all the Indians because of how he behaved with the whole Pakistani conflict, and also the Indian Hindu community in US who really batted for him. Interestingly, I have been reading his book Art of the Deal. It's interesting. It's nice. It's fun, but even for me, he's really gone out of flavor. So what happens to Donald Trump and what happens to US? Very very interestingly, Donald Trump and Xi from China, they had a meet. They had a talk in which they discussed a lot of trade, right? And uh, nothing came out about the rare earth magnets that China has been blocking across the globe. So, viewers of Thinkers Frequency will know that China's rare earth magnet supply, the blocking of it, has led to serious problems for everybody, for automotives across the world. Indian automotives are worried, uh, even European automotives are worried. Everybody's worried, and that's like a big thorn up everybody's rear. But nothing came out of that as far as Donald Trump's conversation with Xi is considered. Apparently, no deal there, which makes you think it is all essentially uh, a negotiating play, right? Just 300 crores of shipment of magnets, which is so critical to electric vehicles manufacturing that the entire industry could come to a standstill. How's that for leverage? That's some incredible leverage, man. That's awesome. What do you think about it, guys? Write in comments. And moving further on this particular story, Mr. Piyush Goyal is actually talking to Italy, and they're talking about joint ventures to go in Africa and in South America to mine such rare earth minerals. So Mr. Piyush Goyal says that China has 90% supply of these rare earth minerals, and that doesn't help anybody. Why can't India go to South America? Why can't India go to Africa and work at this job? They want that dependence to come down. The rare earth minerals, because it's used in solar, it's used in EV, it's used in chip manufacturing. So China has also held that particular export, which could bring the chip manufacturing play to a very very embarrassing standstill, right? So all that is going on as far as India's response to this problem is concerned. So, but it's too little, too late, right? Because uh, viewers of Thinkers Frequency again would know that China says that it's been building this for 30 years. So this expertise of not just mining but refining those rare earth minerals to make magnets or to make components which go into chips, it's taken 30 years and a lot of capital and a lot of training of the manpower. So now they have that edge which could take a long time to let's say compete with, but it is what it is. Rare earths go, but a lot of which is not being talked about even in this stage of escalation is API market. I've discussed it with my viewers before, but API, active pharmaceutical ingredients, uh, which go into drugs. Let's say you're making antibiotics or your paracetamol. Every drug has an active pharmaceutical ingredient, right? And those active pharmaceutical ingredients are also being supplied by China, 90% of them. So if tomorrow, you have a conflict like situation with China and they just block the API supply, uh, the entire medical system of that country can come to a grounding halt. And it's not an insinuation, it's a defense priority. It's been for US. A lot of people in US, the think tanks and all, they've been thinking about it, and a lot of people in India have been thinking about it. And when I used to work with DRDO in 2015, 2014, it used to be a conversation, but just was a conversation. I don't think things have changed even in the last 10 years, because even now China has like a 90% share of the active pharmaceutical ingredient market. So what does that say about countries like India and US? What are we going to do? And even Europe, the whole Europe's automotive sectors is reeling with this pressure, and there's nothing you can do except for pleading with China, because there's not a lot of counter leverage as far as this is considered, right? Everybody is just thinking about what to do now. That's a very interesting question that people will be thinking about. Uh, Apparently, Indian hospitality sector is reeling under the pressure of not being able to find general managers for hotels. Nothing general about general managers say. It has come down, says Mr. Rajat Mittal. He's my brother. Oh, he's listening. Thank you. It has come down. So, are you talking about the active pharmaceutical requirement? That has come down? I know that has come down from 90%, or let's say 95% earlier to 80%, apparently. But even in today's report, they're saying the active pharmaceutical prices have come down because China has an oversupply problem, and 90% comes from China is today's report. So maybe it has not come down by that great a factor. Uh, that said, Tata is set to make Dassault Rafale fuselages in India. This is huge. It's very huge because fuselages as the part have not yet been made anywhere outside France as far as Rafale is considered, right? So already India makes some parts of the Rafale plane, and there's a lot of tech transfer that's going on. The deal came with tech transfer, so eventually India will be looking at making the entire plane, perhaps. But right now, the big step is that Tata is set to make Dassault Rafale fuselages in India, which is great, which is good for Tata, probably good for India, definitely good for India. Yes. Okay. Moving on, China tie-up plans short circuit for electronics companies. So electronics companies were trying to do joint ventures with Chinese companies, uh, but government has played the spoil sport. They say that if you're tying up with Chinese companies, you can't give them more than 10% equity share, and in that 10% they need to bring tech transfer. So the government is trying to limit the Chinese influence as far as the electronics market is considered, which is very necessary considering everything we talked about. However, how strong is it going to be? Because the companies are saying that it's going to be very difficult to convince them to for a 10% stake in exchange for a tech transfer kind of a deal, and it might be very difficult. And also, they're saying that in addition to the tech transfer, in addition to the equity stake, they will need a lot of uh, continuous oiling. I mean, as far as profit sharing or something, revenue sharing or something is considered. So they say that this condition might not work out as far as our deal with the Chinese is considered. Uh, Center outlays incentives via 1.5 lakh crore scheme to boost state reforms. Investment friendliness index. So Niti Aayog is coming up with an investment friendliness index, apparently. Just like a cleanliness index, there's this cleanliness index, right? Which city is the cleanest, or so on and so forth. So they're trying to create a competitive atmosphere which states as far as the investment readiness is considered. That what they want to do is they want to give a platform of information to people who are looking at investing in India as far as states are considered, uh, with manpower, with resources, with real estate price, with water, electric, everything. So they are basically drawing out an investment deck of states. Like they're making it. This is probably a step to boost the uh, ease of doing business ranking, right? People will know. We've discussed this a lot. The ease of doing business. Right now, India stands at like 100 or something. What's India's ranking? India ease of doing business ranking. 63rd in doing business 2020. 190 countries, 63rd. So that's a jump. Improved significantly over the years, moving from 142nd in 2014. Oh my god. Out of 190 countries, we were at 142. Out of 190 countries in the world, we were at 142 as far as ease of doing business ranking is considered. That's some ranking, man. That reminds me of my ranking as far as college marks are considered. But yeah, so it's come forward, and probably this move will take it a little forward. But everything at the end of the day comes down to babus, and they have a way of screwing everything up. Oh yeah, we were talking, right? Pharma companies cheer as API prices crash because of oversupply in China. So yeah, we're not we're not so free after all. Very interestingly, Etihad not keen on investing in Indian carriers. We are looking at partnerships, says Etihad. So people, again, new viewers of Thinkers Frequency uh, can gain from this information, and earliers will get a revision that there was a seat sharing clause back in 2014 or something, 17. India and Dubai, had a sheet sharing clause like 65,000 seats across the board. Both sides get 65,000 seats. Due to which Emirates was not happy because that seat cap has been way surpassed now. Now the traffic, the airplane traffic is just going bazooka, right? So they wanted an expansion as far as that quota is considered. But Indigo guys replied to Emirates saying that just because you're louder doesn't make it happen. Because Indigo wants more of that share, like people going to Dubai, and that's similar situation is happening as far as Etihad is considered, which is Abu Dhabi's funds airline, and people are now talking now since your seat capacity has been reached. Are you looking at investing in Indian carriers? Because this seat is not gonna the quota is not gonna go up. So he says no, we're not investing in India carriers, we'll just partner with them. We have a seat selling agreement with Akasa and so on, but we're not gonna invest in any Indian carrier as of now. This is funny, especially because Etihad actually invested in Jet Airways. And you know how that went, right? You know how Jet Airways investment went. Jet went bankrupt, and took everybody's money, and obviously Etihad didn't gain from it. And Etihad earlier was investing in a lot in foreign airlines, but they say we were doing that in hopes that those airlines will lead to traffic to Abu Dhabi, but that didn't happen. Apparently, investing in foreign airlines doesn't lead to its people coming to your place. It doesn't seem very counterintuitive, by the way. I totally imagine it happening. You know, why would people start coming to your country just because you've invested in their airlines? But anyway, so they've learned from that lesson, and They've learned that lesson and are not going any forward. Apple hands India iPhone repair business to Tata. Well, Tata is killing it with B2B, man. They're doing a lot of chip manufacturing tie-ups with major chip manufacturing, not just in India, but also in Malaysia and East Asian countries. We discussed this. Thinkers Frequency folks will know. And then it obviously has a lot to do with the iPhone repair, you know, and now the repair business as well. So Tata is really doing a lot of breaking new grounds as far as the whole chip manufacturing, phone repair now, and everything. So, but Tata is not doing well as far as the consumer internet play is considered. B2B was always a specialty of these legacy institutions like, let's say, Tata, Singhanias, everybody. But B2C has been a difficult play for them. Look at what's happening to Tata Digital. Big Basket, if you remember, just a few years ago, Big Basket used to be a pioneer. It was probably number one or number two as far as the whole uh, grocery delivery play. Right now, Big Basket isn't even in the conversation of the quick commerce front runners, right? It's always Zepto, Zomato, and Instamart, you know. So they really lost the plot, and they have nobody else to blame but uh, Tata itself because of the whole new strategy. They started killing Big Basket and every independent brand and started pushing new, and people didn't know about new. you know, they're like, what the hell is new? Why new? We want the old thing. PNG plans to trim 15% of office jobs in 2 years, leading to productivity gains. They say we want to be more productive, we're going to be using AI, and we're going to be slashing jobs, says PNG. In 2 years, 15% cuts. That's huge. That's huge. Which reminds me of a question which somebody asked me just a few like hours ago. They wrote at night this message: "What do you think about AI and the job thing?" They probably read my article yesterday about the VC conversations, and they asked that we really appreciate your views. What are your views on AI? So this is the view on AI. Apparently, a lot of companies will use AI for productivity gains, and with productivity gains come job losses, right? And what do those people do is something that we need to ask ourselves. So a lot of arguments against this is that it'll lead to new jobs, and it'll lead, no, it won't. Also, it says that AI would never be as smart as humans, because there's a lot of general intelligence which humans are good at, right? Now, the argument these people have, and you got to listen to this very carefully, is that consider a human who is going in the woods, he's going in the forest, okay? Now, a human will have to figure out how to cut the trees, make the best of the situation, make a wood house, right? Make the wood house, make some fire, and then basically cut some plants, make food, fight with animals, and set himself up. That is not a lot of special tasks. That's a lot of general intelligence tasks. They are very broad in nature. That's what the analogy is, which Mr. Sundar Pichai probably used, right? When you go to the woods, there's not one task that you need to function for, right? And since AI cannot have that general intelligence, it will only be able to do specific tasks, right? Cutting the need for, it will never be able to replace humans, and it needs. So the argument against this is how many people actually exercise general intelligence in daily work. Do you think a lot of people exercise general intelligence as far as daily life is considered or daily work is considered? Ever since the advent of industrial revolution, the pitch that humans were sold was specialization, right? If you're making a car, you're not making the entire car, you're making the chassis, you're making the door, you're making a very, very small part. And you're doing that task over and over again, over and over again. That's been the philosophy that we've been taught. Before McDonald's, a person used to be making burgers, but after McDonald's, when the same assembly line concept applied to food making, now one guy was only flipping burgers, one guy was only putting the pickle on, one guy was only doing the sauces on, and that's the burger, right? So there's no general intelligence as far as this entire space is considered. The Industrial Revolution killed general intelligence, the need for it. Now, when you go to an office, a person is supposed to be doing a very specific task and over again, right? Yes, you can argue that in that specific task come a lot of, generally intelligent things, but that's not really true, right? It doesn't hold water for a long time, right? You get the point. So yes, a human will still win against a robot, but probably, at least in the foreseeable future, if he's trying to go and find his place in the woods against all odds. But how many humans are in that environment as we speak? Is that environment even realistic? That's the question. Right now, most people do repetitive tasks at work. And if those repetitive tasks have any method, and that method could be learned, it would be out, right? So that's the thesis. And even Sam Altman and all these people, the pioneers of AI, they've been talking about UBI and universal basic income, and how that is an answer to the going jobs and so on and so forth. So nobody should pretend that it's just gonna be business as usual because, oh, you're gonna get new jobs. Come on, you know. Indian pharma companies cheer decline in API prices. Price of pharmaceutical ingredients has seen a decline, largely on China sourcing APIs, as we discussed, folks. Leaves no doubt, right? Thinkers frequency audience will be glad to know. Tea prices headed north on strong global demand. Well, that's good. That's good. Record production prices seen ahead. Served hot. Average auction price from January, April going up. This is a seasonal thing, right? This is nothing new. This is not new at all. Silver has touched 1 lakh per kg, by the way. Precious metals going up. So, a report says that in the past 20 years, gold has held its value in the market as far as inflation is considered. So, considering inflation, counting inflation, gold has still been able to beat its value. So, its store of value has gone up, right, in the last 20 years. It's proven to be a good investment. But before those 20 years, if you go 20 years behind, even further 20 years, you'll see that the gold prices couldn't hold their value against inflation. So it's not that gold value just keeps going up, right? Gold value is directly proportional to the unrest in the financial world. It's basically a hedge. And right now, if the signal says that the gold value is going up, we should know that the unrest is going up as well. Which talks about the de-dollarization, which talks about the trade sanctions, which talks about all the conflict that's happening in the financial world, which is exactly what we discussed in the beginning of this conversation, where we saw that Elon Musk saying that what if US dies? Would that do? So gold, according to a report, said 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, the amount which a Roman soldier would be making in gold, you know, would be exactly the amount an American captain is making right now in dollars and gold. So gold has held its value from 2,500 years ago to now. And another report said that a loaf of bread 2,000 years ago in gold coins and stuff would cost like $7 now. exactly what it was being valued as far as gold is considered like 2000 years ago. From bread to a Roman soldier's salary, gold has held its place, right? And that's saying something. And if gold is rising beyond a certain threshold, it should really make uh, America nervous of all the places in the world. By the way, China holds a lot of gold. China has a lot of supply of gold. But interestingly, Indian household supply is greater than Indian household storage of gold. I mean, Indian household, what do you say? What's that word? Indian household savings in gold are greater than reserves of the top 10 countries, very interestingly. So let me check this factoid. Indian household gold reserve against China, let's say. Yeah, India's private gold stash, estimated at 25,000 tons, exceeds the combined gold reserves of world's top 10 central banks, including US, Germany, and China, and even Reserve Bank of India. How is that for a fact, guys? How is that for a fact? Like, Indian household gold reserve at 25,000 tons is greater than combined gold reserves of the world's top 10 central banks. What do you think about that? Right? Interesting, right? So, who's the smartest of them all? Indian moms and Indian ladies, right? Indian wives, Indian moms, they're the smartest. They think in terms of thousands of years, just like Chinese. In a post, confirmed Twitter, analysts detailed how Indian. Oh, thank you. Uday sir said just the same thing. I also confirmed. Great, sir. Yeah, exactly. So how's that for a fact, guys? Did you know that? So that goes on. Auto ancillary stocks shift on top gear, but caution lights on. Well, auto ancillary stocks like Jamna Auto and all, they're getting hyped up, but caution lights are on, and they should be on. They should be on. Indian Auto is not exactly flying at top gear right now. So how are auto ancillaries making stocks killing it? It's probably because auto ancillary stocks are majorly small cap or mid cap stocks, and they have a lot of scope for manipulation. So these stocks just like go, they fire all cylinders and then they just disappear and so on and so forth. A lot of that happens. I can't recall the exact cases, but yes, I've seen that happening, and I don't think auto ancillary stocks should be able to hold their you know place in the sun for a longer period of time. By the way, Thinker's Frequency is not supposed to be a stock tip conversation. However, whatever we talked about as far as stock tips are considered, Yes Bank, GRSE, HAL, there was one conversation about Ola Electric. It proved to be prophetic. We said Yes Bank is gonna go up, went 10% up. We said Ola Electric is gonna go down, even though Goldman had a buy rating, it went 10% down. We said GRSE is gonna go up, it said 10% up, ended at 6%. So very, very interesting. Digital payment firms in a no-win game as margins hit rock bottom. Very, very good news for consumers, by the way. A lot of digital payment firms are happening, due to which margins of these companies, earlier it was like a 5% thing, which was supposed to be sustainable, but now it's coming like 50 BPS down. BPS is basis points, which is like 0.01 of a percent. So that's going down, which is pretty interesting. By the way, the stock thing, I request nobody to report me to SEBI. I've always said that I'm no expert at stocks and I don't pretend to be. So that's that. Anyway, Uber adds Palo Alto CEO Nikesh Arora to board after shakeup. So Mr. Nikesh Arora is being added to Uber's board. Interestingly, Nikesh Arora sir was being considered for the CEO's post of Uber after Travis Kalanick's departure, but that didn't happen. Dara Shikhov uh, not Dara Shikhov. The Dara, he has a complicated name, right? Dara Ko, yeah, Khosrow Shahi. Khosrow Shahi. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it right, wrong. But yeah, so Dara became the chief. Interestingly, Mr. Nikesh Arora is also the highest paid executive in the world. Uh, his compensation is just extraordinary. It's more than uh, what Mr. Sundar Pichai and Mr. Satya Nadella make combined. Uh, Even more interestingly, the book I recently read, Money Trap by Mr. Alok Sama, and I also did a podcast with him about his book. We discussed a lot of reading and writing and stuff. Uh, he used to work directly with Nikesh sir. And before Nikesh sir left SoftBank, uh, Alok sir reported to him, and then he became a direct like reportee to Mr. Masayoshi san, which is great. Also, the reason why Mr. Nikesh Arora left SoftBank was that, very interestingly, Masayoshi san had said that he would retire at age 60 or something. And then it came to be that he won't retire. And Mr. Nikesh Arora wanted to be the chief. That was done. So he didn't want to be in anybody's shadow. So he left. It's a pretty legendary corporate story, right? And now he's Palo Alto Networks, pretty celebrated executive. Uh, Power chip plants of CG rocked by turmoil at wafer company Wolfspeed. Apparently, a wafer company called Wolfspeed is going down. It's going under a bankruptcy route, and very interestingly, it's going the bankruptcy route despite having $2 billion of prepayment by somebody called CG Power. So CG Power gave them $2 billion in prepayment for their project, but this company is going bankrupt. So what happens to uh, so what happens to CG Power? That's a question. So Mr. Uday Parmar sir says, "Chutiya banaya Masa bhai ne basically." well, I don't know, sir. But SoftBank without Masa would have been like a church without Jesus, right? So Masa had to stay. But he eventually, when Mr. Nikesh Arora left SoftBank, everything started going down, right? Because the Vision Fund got over and done, Vision Fund 1, Vision Fund 2. Now it's a renaissance period for SoftBank with the whole uh, open AI conversation. But yeah, that was definitely, उन्होंने बोला था कि he would retire at 60, but he didn't. And Nikesh Arora wait करते करते he had to go, which is definitely. Reddit is suing Anthropic for content use. But this is a problem. This is a problem. You know, fair use. Now, these AI platforms are scraping the internet. What's gonna stop them? In fact, there was a case where US is thinking about letting go of the copyright use play just so that the innovation in AI isn't inhibited. So they are like, copy all the net you want, you know, but it shouldn't slow down. Probably because this is such a big deal that everything is smaller in comparison, right? You can steal everybody's work on the internet. Like every piece of music can be stolen and replicated. Every piece of movies, cinema can be stolen and replicated. Every piece of writing can be stolen and replicated. But it still doesn't. It's still not as important as what the final project is gonna be, because AI is just extraordinarily important for everybody right now. Which says something about India, right? Where do we stand in this AI game? Sarvam AI, Krutrim, unfortunately, have not been able to break ground, right? And China has shown the world that DeepSeek is just gonna. They have some serious metal. That's what China proved effectively. So where do we stand as far as that is concerned? Is something very, very important for us to Think about foundational models. Oil prices are going down uh, because everybody's production is up. Oil per barrel is going down. I wonder when that's gonna, because oil prices, if they go down and suddenly the energy prices go down in India, that's gonna be a very good news for the inflation. So inflation will further come down. If inflation further comes down, RBI will decrease rates further, because everybody is saying that RBI needs to decrease rates by 50 bps or more than 50 bps, because inflation is down in India, महंगाई कम है, and we need to grow, and lending कम हो रही है, तो lending बढ़ाने के लिए these people are thinking about what happens. And if oil prices continue to go down, we might just have a very, very good place in the sun as far as economic activity is considered. India commits $20 billion for maritime infrastructure. Oh man, great news for MassDoc, great news for GRSE, great news for shipbuilding stocks, right? Not saying anything, not saying anything. Please don't hold me accountable for this, but it should be good for MassDoc. It should be good for GRSE and everybody else. Cochin Shipyard. Cochin Shipyard, by the way, did really well lately. And 20 billion of commitment for maritime infrastructure is great news. But this commitment essentially is not a commitment. It's just an announcement by Union Minister Sarbanda Sonowal speaking at North Shipping Conference in Oslo. You know, India obviously cares a lot about its maritime capabilities. It's the third largest. It's a peninsula, perhaps the third largest navy in the world. India, third largest navy. Third largest in the world. Yes, of course. US and China. So India needs a lot of investments as far as this is considered. And interestingly, not just the peninsula, not just the coast, India is also looking at the inland waterway routes. Thinkers Frequencies viewers will know that this inland waterway routes is something very, very interesting, because this means a new economy, a new frontier for people to flourish, right? The shipping costs go down. I mean, the freight costs go down, and speed goes down, but a new frontier is developed. If, let's say, from Agra they were being able to send something to Bangladesh or West Bengal, it's awesome. So great news. Oh, speaking of what I just said, power defense stocks show strong potential, say a lot of analysts. Well, no shit. No shit. Okay. I hope I'm not missing anything. I don't generally miss anything. So by the end of this 1 hour, we get like a very holistic view of the entire business and finance scheme of things. And that's very good for me, and I hope it's good for everybody who's viewing this. So bond buybacks are happening. Sharper repo rate cut, as I said, RBI might just be looking at a very sharp repo rate cut because inflation is down, and if inflation keeps down due to the falling oil prices, a repo rate cut will happen, which will increase economic activity, which will lead to more lending. But at the moment, RBI has completed a 25,000 crore bond buyback, and they're going to look at more bond buybacks in times to come. So if people don't know, I'll just tell what happens with bond buybacks is you do a lot of bond buybacks to because they're a way for the government to pay off the debt, you know. So you buy the bond back, pays off the debt, and then it also leads to so there's a lot of switching happening, you know. What's happening is there are a lot of bonds which are reaching maturity in FY27 to FY32, right? So there's gonna be a lot of money to be paid back, right? But what you want to do, what RBI wants to do, is switch those repayments, those short-term bonds to long-term bonds, so that repayment can be deferred. So switching so that the fiscal consolidation happens, and then continuing the bond buyback scheme is how RBI is trying to manage the financial situation. If I'm not clear with that, because this is slightly complicated, people let me know. I'll build more on that. Private banks more quicker. There's a grammatical error, rare grammatical error in a headline of Economic Times. Private banks more quicker. What does more quicker mean? It should be just quicker, right? Private banks quicker in passing on rate revisions. Apparently, PSB banks have a lesser, you know, uh, share of loans linked to EBA was the highest for private banks at the end of December. Okay, well that's okay, that's fine. And component suppliers and tech for China, we've already discussed that. ECB apparently is looking at rates again, cutting rates again, because ECB, that is European Central Bank, is also looking at low inflation. And because of low inflation, controlled inflation of 1.5 or 1 point some percent, they're looking at faster economic activity, due to which they are looking at cutting rates again and shielding Eurozone from US tariff. So deposit rate cut to 2% from 2.25, says bank now in a good position, sticks to meeting guidance. This is very interesting because if Europe cuts rates, there's gonna be some spurt in economic activity, which will be good for Indian exporters, because now Indian export is a 1 trillion play, right? And a lot of that goes to Europe, so that could be interesting. Iran escalates feud with slanderous espionage assertion. Alphabet to keep hiring engineers, says Sundar Pichai. Mr. Pichai says we'll keep hiring engineers because it's important. Uh, Citi to cut 3.5 tech jobs in China as part of global revamp. Citi Group, which probably exited India a couple of years ago, is also in a bad place as far as China is concerned, because they're looking at 3,500 job cuts. Global simplification efforts. So that's that. We haven't missed anything, and we've covered a lot, and it's always a lot of fun to discuss. Now we're gonna go have a beautiful day at work. So insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis. Thinkers Frequency. Thank you for joining. I hope you had a good time, and let me know if there's anything different you want me to do going forward, because now we are at 12 episodes, 12 days of continuous exercise. That's very nice, and I'll just keep wanting to. I'll want to keep improving this as we go forward, right? So it becomes a super valuable thing for everybody, me and you both. So see you. Have a beautiful day. See you tomorrow at Thinkers Frequency.